We are still in chapter 8 and we are doing section 2. And this is the last lesson for this section, Travels on the Silk Road. And just to recap, we are in section 2 about the Mongol Empire, and it is under chapter 8 about the dynasties of China, and under unit 4, which is the empires of Asia. And today we will analyze 3 primary source documents to understand how this trade route works. So pardon me for this repeated instruction. Go ahead, have your books ready, or go to law.usd website, and from there launch Clever. And from Clever, Cengage Learning, that is our National Geographic Learning resource. Log in with your student account and password. And again, it's from Unit 4, Empires of Asia, Chapter 8, Dynasties of China. And we are learning about the Mongol Empire, which is in Section 2. And we are in the last lesson, which is Travels on the Silk Road. And that is in pages 224 to 225. This chapter's essential question is, what legacy did China leave to the modern world? And the objective of this lesson is to synthesize information about the travels on the Silk Roads from primary and secondary source documents. The Silk Roads were ancient routes for travel and trade. So in 1300s, before Genghis Khan took over, they were becoming increasingly dangerous for merchants and were used less often because merchants are afraid. So when the Mongols took over, they eliminated crime on the routes and made the journeys much safer. Because of the Mongols, many lands interactions between the Chinese and foreigners grew greatly during this period. So Europeans were able to get Chinese goods more easily, and Marco Polo was a great marketer for Chinese goods. Made in China is Marco Polo's idea, I guess. So this illustration from Marco Polo's book of his travels, traders bring spices from the western part of the Mongol Empire to the east. So the Mongols popularized Chinese products around the world, especially silk and porcelain. Although, or because they are nomadic herders, the Mongols encourage trade. So their control of China and all the lands that connected it to Europe helped, trade to flourish. The ancient trade routes, the Silk Roads, were revitalized, and the new routes reached north to the Mongol capital of Karakorum. So from here, great caravans could now travel in safety and ease across the lush plain that had previously been dangerous because of tribal wars and banditry. So these are the people who are just waiting, from behind the rocks and will attack and rob and kill merchants. So this is something that the Mongols accomplished. They established some sort of safety and security for travelers, which in the long run encouraged merchants to do a lot of tradings. Now let's take a look at the 3 primary source documents that we need to analyze today. The first one is from Genghis Khan and the Making of the Modern World by Jack Weatherford. Now it's important to be very clear that this is somehow considered to be a secondary source document. So anthropologist Jack Weatherford presents a fairly positive view of the rule of the Mongols. So silk was one of China's most valued exports, and in here, Weatherford notes how Genghis Khan shaped its distribution. So this is the excerpt of the first document. So a river of brightly colored silk flowed out of China. It was as though Genghis Khan had rerouted all the different twisting channels of the Silk Route, combined them into one large stream, and redirected it northward to spill out across the Mongol steppes. Now, from that excerpt, the question is, Why might the people living on the steppes benefit from Genghis Khan's rerouting of exports through their territory? Now let's take a look at the third excerpt from the Travels of Marco Polo. So Marco Polo is a very famous traveler during the Middle Ages or medieval world, and he traveled to Mongol China under the leadership of Kublai Khan, and his descriptions, his stories about his experience, well, a lot of critics are saying they are exaggerated or just added lately, but definitely it opened up a lot of information for the Western world from how China or parts of Asia lived during this time. So there are so many interesting exchanges and doors that were opened because of Marco Polo. And the excerpt starts with this. Several times a year, parties of traders arrive with pearls and precious stones and gold and silver and other valuables such as cloth of gold and silk, and surrender them all to the great or Kublai Khan. The Khan then summons 12 experts and bids them examine the wares that the traders have bought and pay for them what they judge to be their true value, their fair value. Now, question is, why would using experts to determine prices make trade fairer and easier? Or why do they need experts? Now let's go to the last document, document 3. It is a passport medallion from 1300s. So this is like a passport or a driver's license or maybe an ID that you use for Millswood to identify whether you are a bona fide or a true student of Millswood. Of course, obviously the reasons for this is to identify students from non-students or staff from non-staff members of the school or in any building or institutions or organizations and things like that. So this is your in a way protection of your identity and for you to be able to travel across the Silk Road without getting arrested. Bottom line, this medallion allows travelers like merchants and people like Marco Polo to travel the Silk Road without any hassle. Now the question is, how might Marco Polo have helped expand China's foreign contact and trade during the Mongol Empire? Well, I guess it's pretty obvious. You have to just know where Marco Polo came from and, as an explorer and a trader and a merchant, how do you think he helped expand or connect these two continents, essentially these two worlds? Okay, so those are the 3 documents that I want you to go through, analyze, and answer the questions that I just read in your review and assess assignment. And of course, don't forget to fill up the basic information. And our key vocab is a person again, Kublai Khan, and answer the questions in complete sentences, correct answers, and using your own words. So this is our lesson, chapter 8, section 2.3, Travels on the Silk Road.